Of the Georgia media, eyewitness to an execution of Troy Anthony Davis, who was pronounced dead tonight at 11:08 Eastern Time in the death chamber at the Jackson, Georgia facility. Defiant was the word that was used to describe him. A somber mood, obviously, in the chamber, as reported by John Lewis from WSB Radio in Georgia. And talking to his friends and family, a message for them to dig deeper and find the truth about what happened, and telling the McPhail family that he did not have a gun and he was not responsible for the death of Officer McPhail. I'm joined now by the president and CEO of the NAACP, Ben Jealous, joining me by phone tonight. Ben, defiant was the word that was used to describe Troy Anthony Davis, but a very interesting message. And following these in the past, it seemed that he had more to say than most people who were about to be executed, asking his friends and family to dig deeper. How do you receive that tonight, Ben?
You know, I think he said everything that you would expect Troy Davis to say. This is not your typical case. This is a case where a man for 22 years has contended that he is innocent, and that every year, and recently every day, more and more information has come forward confirming that. I first met his sister 15 years ago, and I had my doubts. But as I dug into the case more, as she dug into the case more, every year it became clearer and clearer that she was right, that Troy was telling the truth. And so you would expect him to say those three things that we heard that he said tonight. You would expect him to say, I am innocent. You would expect him to say, keep digging. And you would expect him, a man of such deep faith, who quite frankly had grown close to many of the guards. I mean, there was a moment the other day when my staff was over visiting and the family was over visiting. The guard leaned in and said, please hold it together for the sake of us, because we're all sitting here trying to hold it together. A guard talked about how his mom was praying for Troy, for Troy Davis and for justice to be done here. These guards are human too, and the fact that he would look at them in the eye and say, may God have mercy on you for what you have to do, may God bless your souls, speaks to the strong spiritual conviction that he has. And, we should all shudder that it's possible for the Supreme Court to be so fixated on the letter of the law, the limits of our Constitution, that it disrespects the spirit of our great country and actually lets a man be executed amid so much doubt. But it be so clear to so many that this man was innocent.
Ben Jealous, the NAACP president and CEO, with us tonight. The words that he spoke, dig deeper. Will this be a motivating factor in some sense for those advocacy groups out there that have maintained that this is just a miscarriage of justice? What are those words? What will they really mean to those groups and people who have followed this, Ben? The reality is that this just affirms what many have come to believe, and which is that it is time for us to really question the death penalty in this country in a way that's final. We've seen it abolished in 3 states in the last 2 years: the state of Illinois, New Jersey, New Mexico. And if we can just abolish it in 10 more, we can abolish it completely in this country and get America to catch up with the rest of the Western world. But tonight, people were filing out of here. We were in a special kind of place in the prison grounds for people who were supportive of Troy and his quest to clear his name. People left here somber, but they also left here deeply committed. And the reality is that right now, in living rooms across this country, there are people who woke up this morning knowing that they supported the death penalty who have to be questioning, how can I support it when the instrument can be so blunt that we can execute somebody even when the former head of the FBI says stop, when the former warden at this prison says stop, when right-wing Congressman Bob Barr, former prosecutor for Georgia, says stop, and so many others, that yet we just push on blindly, not knowing, amid so much doubt, whether we're doing the right thing or not. And it is terrifying. All we had to do was just see the sentence commuted to life without the possibility of parole, and the family would know that, one family would know that things could be reversed. The truth finally was, we finally got the new trial we've been fighting for. The other family would know that this man who had been convicted would not be on the streets, barring his innocence being proved in court. But now we have done something which cannot be revoked. We have killed a man amid just a pile of doubt.
Ben Jealous, unequivocally, do you think that the state of Georgia put an innocent man to death tonight?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have looked in this case for 15 years. I reviewed thousands of cases in that period. I have never seen a case like this. I sat with a woman today on CNN who was terrified for her life. Just a few months ago, fled Savannah, Georgia, because a few years ago, the man who many say is the actual killer threatened her. Excuse me, a few years ago, he admitted in front of her and many others that he had actually killed Officer McPhail. And when she made it clear a few months ago that she intended to let the world know that and that she would support Troy in his quest to save his life, he threatened her. She was so terrified she moved her entire family out of Savannah, Georgia. And while she had come forward to the media once before, she had never talked about the daily terror that she lives in. And she's finally done that, hoping that will give her a greater sense of protection, that the world knows that her life is threatened every day. You know, you don't see that.
Well, Ben, that seems like a terrible injustice, that there would be no one in our criminal justice system that would follow up and take action concerning the woman that you're talking about. Sounds to me like a horrible failure. Where's the curiosity of the prosecutor in this case?
Yeah, where is the commitment to justice? And, and that's really, a very disturbing thing. The reality is that, there's a lot of people who have pushed for years to make sure that we diversify law enforcement. Here we have a black chair of the Board of Pardons. We have a black DA in Savannah. And, it's proof that simply changing the color of the law, of law enforcement doesn't necessarily change the color of justice, if you will, in this country. The reality is that we need people in there of all colors, black or white, who have the courage to do the right thing, and to stand up and say, if there's doubt, I'm not going to execute. When in doubt, don't. We saw that from the former warden, but we couldn't get it from the DA or the chairman of the Board of Pardons.
President and CEO of the NAACP, Ben Jealous, with us tonight, saying that he believes that the state of Georgia has executed an innocent man.